October 5th, 2014, from EverBank Field in Jacksonville, Florida. It was the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the Pittsburgh Steelers got the ball first, and they went 3 and out on their first possession of this game. So the Jaguars would take over with about 13 and a half minutes left in the first quarter, and they had the ball on their own 32. They brought the ball across midfield and into the Pittsburgh Steelers territory and into field goal range, and Scobee came out to kick a 43-yarder, and the Jaguars got on the board first with the score 3-0 Jacksonville over Pittsburgh. So now the Steelers got the ball with a little over 5 minutes on the clock, and they had it on their own 13, but they would end up punting 5 plays later. So now the Jaguars got the ball, and they went 3 and out and punted it back to the Steelers. The Steelers had it on their own 29 with about a minute left in the first. They brought the first quarter to a close as they had gotten into Jacksonville territory. They had it 1st and 10 from the 44, and Le'Veon Bell ran for 29 yards. And then an incomplete pass brought the first quarter to a close, and after one, it was 3-0 Jags over the Steelers. So the Steelers opened up the second on the Jacksonville 27, and Roethlisberger found Antonio Brown for a 23-yard pass, so it was 1st and goal from the 4-yard line, but they would not be able to get a touchdown, and Shaun would have to come out to kick a 24-yard field goal. So now this game was tied up at 3 apiece. So now Jacksonville took over with about 12 and a half minutes left in the second quarter, and they had the ball on their own 27, but then they would end up going backwards, and it was 2nd and 28 from the Jacksonville 9, and Blake Bortles was intercepted by Allen, and the Steelers would take over on their own 45 with about 10 and a half minutes left before halftime, but they would end up punting 5 plays later. Jacksonville would go 3 and out, and the Steelers got the ball back with less than 7 minutes left in the second quarter, and they had it on their own 30. And they ended up picking up 27 yards on first down as Heath Miller caught a 27-yard pass from Big Ben Roethlisberger. So now they were in Jacksonville territory on the 43. And then Roethlisberger hit Johnson for a 12-yard pass, so now they had it on the 31. And LeGarrette Blount ran for 9 yards. And it was on the Jacksonville 22, but then a 5-yard penalty for a false start brought him backwards. But then Blount ran for 5 yards, and now it was 3rd and 2, and he ran for another 5 yards. So now it was 1st down on the Jacksonville 18, and Blount ran for a couple of yards, and then Roethlisberger hit Bell for 9 yards to pick up a 1st down on 2nd and 8. So it was 1st and goal from the Jacksonville 7. And 3 plays later, Big Ben Roethlisberger would end up hitting Palmer for a 1-yard touchdown pass that made it 10-7 as the Steelers now took the lead by a touchdown. So the Jaguars would get the ball with less than 2 minutes left before halftime. They had it on their own 25. They brought it across midfield and into Pittsburgh Steelers territory, into field goal range, into the red zone. But then their drive stalled on the Pittsburgh 17, and Scobee came out to kick a 35-yarder that made the score 10-6. As the Jaguars now trailed the Steelers by 4 points. LeGarrette Blount would bring the game to halftime with a 3-yard run. So after one half of play, the score was Steelers 10, Jaguars 6. So opening up the third quarter, the Jaguars had the ball, and they would end up punting on their first possession. The Steelers now took over with about 12 minutes left in the third quarter, and they would end up punting as well, even though they ran about 5.5 minutes off the clock. So the Jaguars now got the ball back with about 6.5 minutes left in the third quarter. They were backed up against their own end zone on their own 14, but they picked up 20 yards on 1st down with a 20-yard run by Johnson. So now they had it on the 34. They picked up 6 yards with another run by Johnson. Blake Bortles then threw a 20-yard pass to Toby Gerhart. So now they were in Pittsburgh territory. And then Bortles hit Brown for a 15-yard pass to bring it to the Pittsburgh 25. And then Bortles hit Harbor for a 5-yard pass. And a few plays later, though, the drive would stall on the Pittsburgh 18, and Scobee would come out to kick a 36-yarder, and it was now a 1-point game as the Jaguars trailed the Steelers 10-9. So now the Steelers had the ball with a little over 3 minutes left in the third quarter, and they had it on their own 12-yard line. They would end up bringing the ball to midfield when Ben Roethlisberger hit Antonio Brown for a 30-yard pass on 3rd down and 2 from the 20. So now they had it 1st and 10 from the 50. And a 5-yard run by Bell made it 2nd and 5 from the 45, and Roethlisberger hit Brown for an 11-yard pass. The Steelers opened up the fourth quarter on the Jacksonville 34. They would end up making it down to the Jacksonville 13, and on 3rd and 3, Ben Roethlisberger was sacked for a 6-yard loss by Jones, and he fumbled, and it was recovered by Branch, and the Jacksonville Jaguars now took over on their own 17. But then, on 2nd and 12 from the 15, Blake Bortles dropped back to pass, and he was intercepted by McCain, and he ran it in 22 yards for the pick 6, and the score was now 17-9, Steelers over the Jags. Now Jacksonville took over with about 11 and a half minutes left in this game, and 4 plays later they punted, so the Steelers now got the ball with about 9 and a half minutes left in the game, but 6 plays later they punted, and now Jacksonville got it, and they went 3 and out, and now the Steelers beat the ball back with about 4 minutes left in the game. They had it on their own 36, and they would end up bringing the ball near midfield, and on 3rd and 2 from the 44, Roethlisberger would find Miller for a 13-yard pass to pick up the first down and bring the ball into Jacksonville territory. And then on 3rd and 1 from the Jacksonville 34, LeGarrette Blount picked up the first down, and that would pretty much be it. It would bring it to the 2-minute warning, and then they picked up another first down as Roethlisberger found Brown for a 17-yard pass. And then they just took 3 knees, and this game came to a close as the Pittsburgh Steelers win 17-9 in a defensive battle as the Steelers improved their record to 3-2, and the Jacksonville Jaguars remain winless at 0-5. And in this game, Big Ben Roethlisberger was 26 for 36 with 273 passing yards and 1 touchdown. He also had 2 negative rushing yards off of 13 carries. Blake Bortles was 22 for 36 with 191 passing yards and 2 interceptions. He did have 14 yards off of 4 carries. The leading rusher in this game was Le'Veon Bell with 15 carries for 82 yards. And the leading receiver in the game was Antonio Brown with 5 receptions for 84 yards. The leading tackler in the game was Posluszny with 12 tackles, 1 sack, and a tackle for a loss for the Jags. The Jaguars combined for 4 sacks. The Steelers only had 1 sack. Clemons had a sack, and Jones had 2 sacks for the Jags. And the lone sack for the Steelers was from Bortles. I think that's how you say his name. It's kind of like Worlds, but with an I in it. So anyway, the Pittsburgh Steelers had 2 interceptions. McCain and Allen both got picks. And the Steelers end up winning this one by 8 points with the final score 17-9.